Wyoming, often called the Gent City of the Plains, is now at the eye of the storm.
Laramie City and Sun will focus on the reports out of town. As the gay college students like hospitalized, fear and
Some people might think that what happened to Matthew was an exception to the rule, but it was an extreme version of what happens in our schools on a daily basis.
It's a tough business, as Matt Shepard knew, as all his friends knew, to be gay in Cowboy country.
It was huge. Yeah. And we're talking hundreds of reporters, which made a huge dent in the town's population. I mean, everyone on campus, everyone in town. I don't know, we're not used to that type of exposure. We're not used to that type of attention to even begin with.
Tiffany Edwards, a local reporter.
these people are predators. Like, this one journalist actually caught one of the judges in the bathroom, at the urinal, for God's sake, and was like asking him questions. And so this judge is like, excuse me, can I please have some privacy? And the journalist like got offended that he asked for privacy. This is not how journalism started. Like the Gutenberg press, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what. When hard copy taped me, I taped them at the exact same time, so I have every word I ever said on tape. Now, if they ever decide to do anything funny, well, they better watch their fucking ass.
Wyoming Governor Jim Geringer, first-term Republican, up for re-election.
I am outraged and sickened by the heinous crimes committed against Matthew Shepard, and I extend my most heartfelt sympathies out to the family and friends affected.
Governor, you haven't pushed any high-paid crime legislation in the past.
Well, I would like to urge the citizens of Laramie not to act in any way that gives special privileges to one group over another. We will wait and see if the act committed against Matthew was based off of hate.
You've got the beginning of the news story where they have the graphics in the background and they've got murder in Wyoming. And Wyoming's dripping red like it's got blood on it or something. We're like, what is this? This is sensationalism. And we're here going, wait a minute, we had these guys in jail in less than a day. I think that's pretty damn good.
And for us to be more or less maligned,
Eileen and Gil Engen,
that we're not a good community, and we are. The majority of people here are good people.
You get bad apples once in a while, and I think the gay community took this as an advantage, said, this is a good time to exploit this.
Bill McKinney, father of one of the accused.
Had this been a heterosexual that those two boys decided to go out and rob, this never would have made the national news. And now my son is guilty before he's even had a trial.
Look, I do think that the media actually made people accountable because they made people think. People were sitting in their homes watching CNN and listening and watching Dan Rather and thinking, well, Jesus Christ, that's not how it is here. Then how is it here?
Matthew Shepard medical update, Saturday, October 10th at 3 p.m.
I looked out, and where there had been 2 or 3 reporters, it must have been 10 or 20 video cameras, another 20 or 30 reporters, and 10 still photographers. The parents had just arrived. I barely had the chance to introduce myself. I thought, my gosh, what am I going to do? Matthew Shepard was admitted in critical condition approximately 9:15 October 7th. When he arrived, he was unresponsive and breathing support was being provided. Matthew's major injuries upon arrival consisted of hypothermia and a fracture from behind his head to just in front of the right ear. This has caused bleeding on the brain as well as pressure on the brain. There were also several lacerations on his head, face, and neck. Matthew's temperature has fluctuated over the last 24 hours, ranging from 98 to 106 degrees. We have had difficulty controlling his temperature. Matthew's parents arrived at 7 p.m. October 9th and are now at his bedside. The following is a statement from them. First of all, we would like to thank the American public for their kind thoughts about Matthew and their fond wishes for a speedy recovery. We appreciate your prayers and goodwill and know they are something Matthew would appreciate too. We also have a special request for the members of the media. Matthew is very much in need of his family at this time, and we ask that you respect our privacy as well as Matthew's, so we can concentrate all of our efforts, thoughts, and love on our son. Thank you very much.
Both Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson pled not guilty to charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Paisley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty to charges after being charged with accessories after the fact. On our next trip, we speak with Detective Rob Debris of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
I guess the thing that bothered me the most is when we went down to Poudre Valley. And I guess the thing that bothered me the most is seeing him, touching him. As a homicide detective, you look at bodies. This boy is sitting here fighting for his life trying to make it in. I just wanted it so bad by the book, you know?
I keep seeing that picture in my head,
Aaron Crupples.
and it's not pleasant whatsoever. I don't want it to be there. I want to, like, get it out. That's the biggest part for me, is seeing that picture in my head, and it's sort of unbelievable to me, you know, that I happen to be the one who found him, because the big question with me, like, with my religion is, why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself, and I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Connolly.
So what that meant is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the streets alone, seeing a truck do a U-turn thinking it's coming after me, and having to stop because I'm shaking so bad. And in fact, the truck wasn't coming after me, but my reaction was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I had an opportunity.
Matt Galloway.
I should have thought and just would have stopped and to think what occurred. These guys shouldn't have been talking to this guy, you know. I shouldn't have had my head down for those 20 seconds watching those dishes. The things I could have done, what the hell was I thinking?
So you do a lot of studying. You study and study and study. You spend hours and hours and hours talking to your witnesses, making sure they understand, talking to the officers again, and I just get this flashback of seeing Matthew. I just wanted it so tight that there was no way that those two guys were getting out of this.
One of the things that happened when I got to the fence,
Reggie Flutie.
it was just such an overwhelming amount of blood, you know? And you try to wear protective gloves. We had a really cheap sheriff at the time. He bought us shit gloves, you know? And you put them on, they keep breaking. So finally, you just run out of gloves, you know? And you figure, don't hesitate, you know? That's what your mind tells you at the time. Don't hesitate. So you keep moving and you try and help Matthew and try and find a narrow way. That's just what you do, you know?
The thing I wasn't telling you before is that Reggie is my daughter.
Marge Murray.
And when she first told me that she wanted to work for the sheriff's department, I thought there was not a better choice of her. She could handle whatever came her way.
About a day and a half later, the hospital called me and told me that Matthew had HIV. And they said, you've been exposed, and you've had bad exposure, because I'd been building a lean-to for my llamas, and so I had a bunch of open cuts on my hands, and I was kind of screwed. You think, oh shoot, you know?
Would you like to talk about losing sleep?
So I said to the doctor, I said, okay, what do I do? And they said, get up here. And so I got up there, and we started the ATZ drugs immediately.
Now, they told me that the drug that is administered 36 hours after you've been exposed, it can maybe stop you from getting the disease.
That is a mean, nasty medicine. Mean. Lost 10 pounds and a lot of my hair. Yeah.
And quite honestly, I wanted to lash out at somebody. No, not at Matthew. None of us were mad at Matthew. Please understand that, but maybe we wanted to just squeeze McKinney's head off. And then you think about Henderson, and you know, two absolutely human beings cause so much grief for so many people. It's terrible for my whole family, but mostly for her and her kids.
I think it really brought home to my girls what their mom does for a living.
Well, Reggie, you know I'm going to tell you now.
And my parents, you know, they both said the same damn thing.
You're quitting this damn job.
And it's just a parent thing, you know, because they're terribly proud of you, whether it's handling a drunk or handling a case like this, but, you know, they don't want you getting hurt.
Like I said, there's a right way, a wrong way, and then there's Reggie's way.
So I finally said, oh, for God's sake, lighten up, Francis.
You are so stubborn.
They say I'm stubborn. And I don't believe them, but I just think, okay, I've heard your opinion. Now here's mine. I'm 39 years old. What are you gonna do, spank me?
Reggie, don't give me any ideas.
It'd look pretty funny. What are they gonna say,
I just hope she doesn't go before me. I just couldn't handle that.
University of Wyoming President Philip Dubois.
Now, this is a young person who sent me an email to me directly and said,
You and the straight people of Laramie and Wyoming are guilty for the beating of Matthew Shepard. You are as guilty as the Germans who looked the other way are as guilty for the deaths of the Jews, the Gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate their lesbian and gay brothers and sisters. And until you acknowledge that this isn't just a random occurrence or a job done by a couple of crazies, you have Matthew's blood on your hands.
and I just can't begin to tell you what that does to me. And it's like, you can't possibly know what I'm thinking. You can't possibly know what this does to me, or my family, or my community.